The air inside the observation deck was unnaturally still, almost as if the universe itself had paused to watch. The dangerous alien woman sat alone, her elongated fingers tracing invisible patterns across the cold, transparent floor. Her eyes, luminescent pools of violet and silver, were fixed on nothing, yet they seemed to see everything. When I first stepped onto the platform, my heart slammed against my chest like a warning drum. I had been warned not to approach her. Every protocol drilled into me during my years aboard the Interstellar Engineering Corps screamed that this alien, known only as Serapha, was untouchable, lethal, and unpredictable. But I did what no one else dared. I took a seat beside her. Her head tilted slightly, a gesture so subtle it could have been mistaken for the casual curiosity of a human. "You're not afraid?" she asked, her voice a melodic tremor that carried a strange magnetic danger. "I've been afraid every day of my life," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But some risks are worth taking." She didn't respond immediately. Her gaze drifted toward the vast expanse outside the observation window, the swirling neon storms of the gas giant below, and the silent, jagged spires of abandoned orbital platforms. "Humans always talk of worth," she finally said. "Yet you do not understand what it costs." Her words carried a truth I wasn't ready to grasp. I wanted to probe, to challenge her, but instead I simply watched. I watched as she leaned forward, a dangerous grace in every motion, and then the silence broke with the distant hum of the station's engines. Something was wrong. Something always was. I remembered the first time I had been called to the edge of the station, sent to repair a collapsed energy conduit. The alarms had screamed like dying beasts, lights flickering violently. And in that chaos, I had glimpsed her, silhouetted against the fractures of the containment dome. She had been terrifying then, and she was terrifying now, but different. Vulnerable somehow. "Why are you here?" she asked suddenly, and I realized her voice had drawn me out of my reverie. "To see what no one else sees," I said, and then because I could feel the truth clawing at me, I added, "To understand you." She tilted her head again, a tiny smile brushing the edge of her lips. "Understanding is a luxury few survive." But that was only the beginning. The first days were quiet, almost painfully so. We spoke in fragments. Questions, answers, silences heavy with unspoken histories. I learned that her species had once ruled galaxies, bending light and matter with technologies that bordered on the divine. Yet she had been exiled, not for rebellion, but for love. Or so she claimed. The station's corridors echoed with secrets, whispers of a human-alien alliance long shattered. I should have left. Protocols demanded it. But each day, the pull grew stronger. Each time she let her guard slip, a flash of humor, a tremor of pain, I saw her not as a weapon, but as a being burdened by loss. "What did you lose?" I asked one evening, as the twin moons cast silver shadows across her elongated face. She didn't answer at first. Then, slowly, as if revealing a forbidden scripture, she spoke. "Everything that mattered. Family. Honor. Worlds. All of it, destroyed by the one I trusted most." Her words struck me with a force I hadn't anticipated. I had faced collapsing starships, rogue AI, and cosmic storms, but grief, raw, alien grief, was something that no engineering manual could prepare you for. But what I saw next changed everything. One night, the station shuddered violently. Warning sirens cut through the sterile quiet. A breach had occurred, some unknown entity slicing through the hull like a phantom blade. She sprang into motion with uncanny speed, but instead of retreating to a safe observation post, She went toward the source. I followed without thinking. The breach led us to a hidden sector, one I had never been cleared to enter. Machines hummed with forbidden energy, panels glowing with symbols that made my head ache. And there, at the heart of the sector, floated a containment pod. A human body, alive, but altered, fused with alien technology in ways that defied comprehension. "You brought him," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Not at me, at the pod." I couldn't understand, but then she turned to me, her eyes flashing violet. "Do you see now? The cost of curiosity." Before I could answer, alarms blared louder, and the station's AI began to override containment protocols. A shockwave of energy knocked me to the floor. When I regained my footing, she was gone. Only her voice lingered in the comms, distorted but unmistakable. "Find him or all is lost." For days I hunted, following fragments of information through derelict platforms, abandoned colonies, and the dark voids where no human had dared tread. Each discovery was worse than the last. There were others. Hybrids, failed experiments, echoes of civilizations erased by ambition and fear. And everywhere, her presence haunted me, a phantom guide through the labyrinth of danger. Then, at the halfway point of my search, the revelation struck. The pod, the hybrids, the station itself, it was all a test. Not of skill but of humanity. The aliens had been watching, waiting for someone brave enough, compassionate enough, to navigate moral peril without succumbing to fear or greed. Wait. This is not what I expected. When I confronted her at the center of the station, she was alone, seated on a console that overlooked the heart of the nebula surrounding us. The nebula's stormy gases glowed with violet fire, mirroring her own eyes. "You succeeded," she said softly, almost mournfully. "But do you know what that means?" "I saved them," I said, gesturing to the pods, to the hybrids, to the broken fragments of life she had entrusted to me. She shook her head. "You understand, yet you do not. What you have saved is not life as you know it. It is evolution, choice, and consequence. These beings, they may rise or they may destroy. And you," her eyes bore into mine with a weight that made my knees weak, "you have brought hope into a world that has long forgotten it." But the final trial was not yet complete. As we spoke, the station began to collapse. Energy reactors overloaded, corridors buckled, and the very gravity of the station twisted violently. We had seconds to escape. I reached for her hand, fully expecting rejection, but she let me hold it. In that touch, I felt centuries of isolation, sorrow, and danger, yet also the faintest glimmer of trust. "Do not fail now," she said. We raced through corridors that shimmered and twisted, past falling panels and leaking plasma. I could see the galaxy through breaches in the station walls, stars streaking as we hurtled past. It was chaos, and yet, in that chaos, we moved as one, human ingenuity and alien grace entwined. Finally, we reached the escape pod, a small vessel barely able to contain us both. As the station imploded behind us, she held me close, whispering a language I almost understood. The pod launched into the void, drifting toward the nearest human colony. The silence afterward was deafening. We floated, watching the remnants of the station vanish into the nebula, a monument to the past and the dangers we had survived. She turned to me, eyes soft but glimmering with alien intensity. "You could have left," she said. "No one would have blamed you. Yet you stayed." "I could not let you face it alone," I replied. She smiled then, a full, dangerous, beautiful smile that threatened to unravel all the rules I had known. "Perhaps humanity is not entirely predictable," she mused. But none of us were prepared for the truth. As the pod approached the colony, I realized the bond we had forged was more than survival. It was understanding. A fragile bridge between two species divided by logic, by instinct, by millennia of fear. And yet, in that bridge, hope had taken root. The colony welcomed us with cautious awe, scientists and engineers staring at her with a mixture of fear and reverence. I stood beside her, a human engineer who had dared to sit next to the most dangerous being I had ever encountered. And for the first time, I felt the weight of history shift, if only slightly. She looked at me, and I could see a universe of possibilities in her gaze. "You will not understand the choices I will make," she said. "I will try," I said. And in that moment, I understood that this was only the beginning. We had survived the station, the trials, the unknown horrors lurking in the void. But the real challenge, the one that would test humanity and alien alike, was just beginning. She reached out, placing her hand over mine. "Together," she whispered. "If you are brave enough." I nodded, a promise, a challenge, and a surrender all at once. The stars stretched endlessly before us, the galaxy alive with peril and possibility. And as we drifted into the unknown, I realized the most dangerous journey was not the one through space, but the one we had chosen to take together. Human and alien, engineer and exile, hope and danger entwined. I looked at her, and she looked at me. And for the first time in countless years, the universe felt wide open, terrifying, and achingly beautiful. And I knew without question that I would follow her anywhere. Because some risks are worth taking.